morning and welcome to Weekends with Whitney. Coming up on this morning's show, Baton Rouge Blues, birthplace of the swamp blues. We'll tell you about the push to tell it and sell it to the rest of the world. Plus, Tin Roof Brewery, how two friends tapped into their dreams and are handcrafting some of the best brew around. And take a look at what we found in City Park Lake this week. An alligator more than 7 feet long. But not nearly as scary, white pelicans. They're still here. They're usually back home in the Great Lakes by now. Could they be here to stay? Then filling 100 water balloons in 60 seconds for some springtime fun. Does Bunch of Balloons live up to its promise? Then we get your Sunday sizzling with soft shell crab Tuscany. Chef Ryan at the Little Village shows us his secret. But first, Baton Rouge has the blues. Some of the best blues musicians in all the world are from right here in Baton Rouge. And most people, not even those who live here, even realize that. Our blues musicians have influenced folks all over the world, including huge groups like the Rolling Stones, the Byrds. In fact, our blues is still traveling the world today. Blues musician Larry Garner has been performing more than 50 years. His music takes him all over the world, to places like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and the Isle of Mystique, and more.
I mean, I've been to Senegal, I've been to Tunisia, all over Europe, you know, all of the countries of Europe, Russia, you know. And I went to Russia right after my open heart surgery, like 4 weeks after, and everybody told me I was crazy.
Yeah! He is crazy about singing the blues.
I like the coolness of being a blues man. It's gotta be the coolest job in the world, man. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of money. I mean, it's a blues gig, but you travel places where all the rich people go.
Blues music has often had to travel to Europe to get appreciated in the U.S. In fact, all 8 of Larry's CDs have been released by labels in Europe or Britain. Baton Rouge Blues Foundation President Bill Bryan says it's been that way since the days of Slim Harpo.
The blues that came out of Baton Rouge in the 50s and the 60s was actually part of what fueled the British invasion. Slim Harpo, a lot of the blues artists that came from here, they wrote King Bee, a lot of the songs that ultimately were recorded by the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, the Byrds, a lot of people. It had to go to Europe and then come back over here before people realized that, man, these are guys from Baton Rouge that wrote this stuff.
Blues Foundation board member Maxine Crump says for a while, blues was taboo.
Blues was shut out of America. It was like the business people decided, or should I say the powers that be decided it wasn't good music for young people to hear. Just like they're doing with rap music today was done with blues. And so it was basically shut out. And so these artists played, they were heard about in Europe, and they brought them over to play in Europe, and the young people over there grew up in it, and therefore the British invasion.
I am the little red blues. Phil Brady started what is now the second longest running weekly blues jam in the country at his bar back in the 70s. Larry is one of the musicians who keeps folks coming back for more. Phil says everybody can use a little blues.
It's a feeling, and you know, there's something in the music, just like music makes you move, and you get a good feeling, you know, from listening to the blues.
Have you ever tried music to see you through?
And everybody's been up and down in their life, and that's what a lot of the songs, it's about life, and we live life.
For the majority of his career, Larry couldn't make a living just singing the blues. His job at Dow Chemical paid the big bills.
My wife kind of freaked out because I was staying out late at night, and she didn't want me to jeopardize my job, of course, you know.
But Larry managed to balance his day job at Dow and singing the blues at night. Then one day in the late 90s, his music started to pay off.
Slowly I started signing record deals, and I got a really good record deal with Polygram for the French blues Gitan label. And that was the one, man. And when I got a really big royalty check once, and she called me on the phone and said, "You ain't gonna believe how much money you just gotta pay." I said, "Really?" And I said, "Don't cash it, you know, till I get home." you know. And,
That helped Larry leave Dow and become a full-time musician. For the first time, he could dig deeper into his musical roots.
all that that was around me. I mean, when I was a kid, we lived up in the country, and right down the road was a juke joint. And on Friday and Saturday nights, I would lay in the window and listen to the music coming through the woods, you know. And in the daytime, it was a store, so I would go in there and just smell the place. It smelled like beer and bubble gum, you know.
The music bubbled up from life around here and told its story.
It came out of, they came to play in Baton Rouge, but they came out of the bayou and the fields and the highway across Airline and Irwinville and Maringouin and all those places where this sound came from, with clubs called the Hideout, the Honey Dripper, and Manny Ville's One Way Bar and places like that.
Larry says people around the world connect to blues because it's real.
It's the rawest music that you're gonna have. It's just basic raw. Ain't no hiding in the blues, you know. Ain't nothing you can, I mean, it's, everybody knows, so why try to hide about it, you know? The blues is the raw feeling music. I mean, it's life.
I
mean, everywhere you go in the world, when you mention Louisiana, it's just, people just, wow, they sit up and listen, you know, yeah. And so I'm proud to be from Louisiana playing the blues, you know. I just wish Louisiana people wouldn't so take it for granted, because I don't hardly know anybody who don't have somebody in their family who play an instrument. Well, back in the day anyway. But now the schools don't stress music like they used to, but even in elementary school, we had a band, you know, and they don't stress music no more. They stress football, but not music so much. So if I could have any wish, I wish that the education department would get kids back into the music thing as best as they could, you know.
I grew up in the blues. My father had a blues club, and I lived in Maringouin on the bayou where people walked around with harmonicas in their pocket, and then if they had a break to sit down, they played a harmonica.
And the instrument can be your best friend, you know, and instead of, you know, I used to practice, and practicing on my guitar was really, it was therapeutic, you know. I would sit there and rather than going and getting in trouble, I could practice my guitar, you know. Maybe kids wouldn't have so much stuff to get into otherwise if they was in there practicing their saxophone. Yeah.
To educate young and old on the blues, the Blues Foundation puts on its annual Blues Festival. Their next big project is a blues museum that would brand Baton Rouge as a blues birthplace.
The swamp blues that came out of here has become incredibly popular. And I think Baton Rouge has a great opportunity to brand itself as the birthplace of the blues. You know, New Orleans has a brand, Mississippi has a brand, and I think this gives Baton Rouge an incredible opportunity to take this and run with it and ultimately enhance the quality of life here.
And one of the things that Mississippi has done is owned its history of the blues and how it got started and who started this music. I mean, you know, why didn't white people play this music? Because this music came from the life of what people were living. It was from the life that this music was created. And I think the brilliance and the genius of these people to take oppression and express it this way is a heritage that we should always value. It's how diamonds are made, and we have a rich treasure here, and we want to honor that.
And I always say about Baton Rouge, we live the blues. We have bad air, bad schools, and bad politicians, but we have great food, great people, and great music. So it all evens out.
And the museum needs to be a live museum, because we got enough music here to not have it just be a place you walk through as if blues is a relic. Louisiana can be proud of this rich heritage and not to worry and be embarrassed about the negative part of the history. All struggles have negative parts. Just let's get the treasure and express it.
Where is the blues capital?
But Louisiana is, you know, most of the blues guys who are blues guys, they from Louisiana, you know, and Louisiana, Mississippi area. And Chris Thomas King right now is really got a intention to make the world know that Baton Rouge and Louisiana is the real birth of the blues.
The Blues Foundation is involved in everything from music to history to a big gala to, of course, the annual Blues Fest. If you'd like more information, you can find them on the web and on Facebook. Coming up as Weekends with Whitney continues. How two friends took a dream and tapped into it big time. And speaking of big, check out the gator I saw in City Park Lakes this week. Why Wildlife and Fisheries says it's no big deal. And cooling off with water balloons that promise to fill up and tie off in seconds. Does it really do that? We'll find out. And how to make soft-shell crab Tuscany as Weekends with Whitney continues.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC, your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River, here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
Give the gift of fine dining. Wayne Stabler Companies is offering one card for four. Le Creole, The Little Village, Stab's Steak and Seafood. 4 sizzling restaurants, one card.
Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. Meet two childhood friends who ditched their banking and law careers and instead tapped into their real dreams. William McGehee and Charles Caldwell have been friends longer than they've known their ABCs. Making ale was never a childhood dream of theirs growing up in Natchez. It started, though, when Charles took a break from Ole Miss and headed west.
So got online and found a job at a ranch and drove out to Colorado. Didn't know anybody, but I spent a year out there, made some great friends, and got introduced to craft beer out there.
He told William they should start a microbrewery.
I'd kind of gotten into beer. We went to Europe for the summer for law school, and I'd gotten into all the European beers.
But for a few years, the idea just sat there. Charles finished college at Ole Miss and went to work for a bank in Natchez. William would soon be graduating LSU Law School.
One weekend, he came down to stay with me, and we were just hanging out and actually kind of hungover. And I was about to start studying for the bar, and he was dreading going back to the bank that Monday morning, and it just kind of said, I said, you know, whatever happened to the brewery idea? I think Baton Rouge is the perfect place for one, and that was where it started.
We put together the business plan for so long, it just got to the point where it was like, all right, we either have to do this or we have to quit talking about it, but we have to move forward in one direction or the other. So we took the leap.
The timing was perfect in many ways.
Yeah, I didn't want to practice law. Time to make a move, and that kind of made us jump into it, I guess, with our eyes closed.
At the time, Louisiana had just a few craft breweries. The market was ripe, and they tapped into it.
We had put together a good plan. We spent 2 years planning and putting everything together and coming up with our samples.
But making beer and perfecting it were two different things entirely. Then fate stepped in.
We were about 1 month in to our infancy when we met Tom Dagerpont, who's our brewmaster. And I'd say that was one of the best things that could have happened to us, was teaming up with Tom. Tom makes fantastic beers.
Even better, Tom had a son, Alex.
I've been doing this with my dad over 20 years. So I started as a kid helping him out.
They make a dynamic team. Dad fine-tunes more traditional brew. Alex creates the unexpected. But all beer has just 4 simple ingredients: water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. It takes 6 hours to brew beer. Here it's made in batches of 1,000 gallons. Then it sits in the fermenters 10 to 12 days. After that, it's carbonated, canned, and packaged, all right here under the Tin Roof. Tin Roof offers up about a dozen different varieties of beer any time out of the year, including their specialty beers. But one of their most popular continues to be their blonde ale. Is it because of the color or the taste?
I think a little bit of both. We designed the beer with the LSU fan or football fan in mind. We wanted it to be something that we kind of call it a gateway craft beer because it's light enough that someone who drinks Budweiser or something like that, they're not going to be offended by, you know, too much hoppiness or anything like that. It's just an easy drinking beer.
One of the biggest additions to Tin Roof Brewery since they opened 5 years ago is this. It's the tap room. All of their beers on tap. People can come through the door, sample all of their beers. It's kind of like their own bar. For folks in here today, this is job training. They work at Sammy's restaurant. Knowing how Tin Roof beer is made and learning the differences in taste helps them keep Tin Roof flowing. But the tap room is open to everyone, over 21. There's a nominal tasting fee, and beer sells for about what you'd pay at other places.
It's the more people we can get in the brewery, I feel like the better off we are anyway, because they can see it, they can feel it, taste it, see the guys working, and from there it's an experience for them that they can relate to moving forward. A lot of people come here and they don't know that we do everything from grain to glass here, all the way to packaging.
Sales have grown steadily since they opened in 2010. This year, they'll be up nearly 30% over last year. Like any business, Williams says it's a bit of a roller coaster, but what a ride.
Yeah, we kind of like to say at the end of a good day, you get to drink your own beer. At the end of a bad day, you get to drink your own beer.
Check out Tin Roof's website for everything from tours to game night. They always have something fun bubbling up over there. And coming up, why we're seeing more alligators right now in places you might not expect. Instead of your plate, try outside your window. What's going on? But we will plate this up. Soft shell crab Tuscany. And warm weather fun. How to win the water balloon war faster than ever. Discover your art of living at Dixon Smith Interiors. With 10,000 square feet of inspired interiors, it's easy to bring beauty home. Create a unique interior that reflects your exterior. Translate what you love into where you live. For 60 years, Dixon Smith has refined the art of style, space, and comfort. You're a work of art. Your home should be too. Embrace your art of living at Dixon Smith Interiors in the heart of Baton Rouge. Discover Dixon. This segment brought to you by our friends at Wayne Stabler Companies. Welcome back to Weekends with Whitney. Well, springtime and summertime means fun time. And in our family, we have a lot of fun with water balloons. And unfortunately, I usually get the task of having to fill them up because it's a task no one wants. Everyone wants to throw them, and I just can't make them fast enough. And then it gets tedious and your fingers hurt. So when I saw a bunch of balloons that says it will blow up 100 water balloons in 60 seconds, well, I had to try it out. So I brought in Sydney Joy, my daughter, to see if it works. So it looks cool, right?
Yes.
And if you could blow them up that fast, imagine the water balloon fights.
You could have a ton.
Yes, and you know what else is coming up? The boat parade in New Roads, 4th of July. And they have these big water balloon fights between the boats. And so Kim needs practice because she's in that, and so.
Me and you are already experts.
Yeah, so anyway, but lots of reasons why we're doing this today. Okay, so it looks easy enough. You just take a bunch of balloons. It looks funny, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you just put it on. Hold these. I'm gonna attach it here. Okay, so easy so far. I love how the directions said fill to your desired size. Well, I want them this big. I don't think those are going to be that big, are they? No. Okay. So it says turn the water on full blast. You hold that.
Okay.
And I guess hold over the bucket. I guess the water in the bucket is so they don't break. You know how that happens sometimes? Okay. Do it full blast. Tell me when. Are they starting to break off? Okay. Okay. Good.
Wait, hang on. She didn't break off.
Okay. So, okay.
And then you just unscrew it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Recyclable.
One popped.
One did pop. Okay, well, they're not quite as big as I thought. But the big question, Sydney Joy, is how do they throw? Ah! Kim, come on! right, 2 things to know before you buy a bunch of balloons. First is, I was surprised that they didn't pop easier. I mean, they're pretty resilient. The good thing about that is you can pick them up and throw them again, so you get more throws. But the bad thing about that is, gee, you have to really use some force sometimes. And so if you're playing with small children, they might get hurt. The second thing is price. 100 of them will cost you $20. So that's about 20 cents a balloon. Now, if you do it the old-fashioned way and the time-consuming way, it'll cost you a penny. So depending on how many balloons you want to do and play with might depend on whether or not you're going to buy them or not. But if you do have the budget for that, it is a lot of fast fun. And now, let's get cooking. Well, this morning we are in the kitchen of popular downtown Baton Rouge restaurant, The Little Village, and they do magnificent, wonderful things, and today is no exception. Chef, Executive Chef Ryan Burgett joins us this morning with more. And what are we making up?
Today we will be doing the soft-shell crab Tuscany. Ooh. It is a fried soft-shell crab with a nice little sauce with artichokes, tomatoes, crawfish, and crab meat on the top, and it's delicious.
Let's do it. Let's get started.
All right. First off, we're going to fry our soft-shell crab here.
Just
we just season up, salt and pepper, a little flour, egg wash. We're just going to throw it right in the deep fryer.
Okay.
We're going to do about 2 minutes on each side with it till it's a nice little golden brown. And while that's frying, we're going to work on our sauce here.
You all do have the most magnificent sauces.
Thank you, thank you. We're going to add a little butter and oil. Let that get hot. And we're going to saute our tomatoes, artichokes, and bell peppers. We're going to finish it with the crawfish and the crab meat.
Oh, crawfish and crab meat on top of it?
Crawfish and crab.
It just gets better.
All that. A little roasted garlic, some capers. We're going to deglaze with some lime here.
Okay. White wine. Oh, I need to get a fork ready, I know that.
And now we're just going to take this right here, finish it with a little lemon butter here.
Oh. Now this is not on the menu typically.
It is.
Oh, it is?
It
okay.
is on our
I don't know how I've missed that.
Yes.
I think I would order that every time I come from now on.
It's a pretty popular dish.
Oh, it looks marvelous. Not nearly as delicious, this. But we're not even talking about alligators on a plate. Alligators on the loose instead. Why they're showing up in unwanted places, and the surprising reason Wildlife and Fisheries says you need not worry.
Give the gift of fine dining. Wayne Stabler Companies is offering 1 card for 4. Le Creole, The Little Village, Stab Steak and Seafood. 4 sizzling restaurants, 1 card.
Maggio, the only way to go. Maggio Buick GMC, your satisfaction's our specialty. We really deliver on Falls River, here in New Roads. Small town atmosphere, legendary service for over 60 years. Maggio, the only way to go. The only way to go, that's Maggio.
Boy, did Kim and I get a surprise this week. All right, we were riding down Lakeshore Drive, and all of a sudden, in the water, we see an alligator. And a big gator it was. It was at least 7 feet long. Could have been even bigger than that, you know, because they hide in the water. It's hard to exactly see. So I got on the phone, called Wildlife and Fisheries, and I said, you got to come get this creature before it gets somebody. I mean, I was a little panicked, but, you know, it's big, and it's, I mean, there are thousands of people who go by here every day. And I learned really quickly that they were not nearly as impressed as I was. In fact, it's pretty routine for them. They say this time of the year, the Mississippi River's high, and so the alligators are able to travel down bayous and canals, and therefore get into ponds and lakes near people's homes. Now, they weren't as alarmed as I was because they said, did you know, in the history of Louisiana, no one has ever been killed by an alligator? Well, that surprised me. Of course, I was still worried about the pets around here. But they do have trappers who will come out and get them, certainly if they're big enough. They're not coming out for a little one, but they will come out for big ones. So it was a little scary, but what I got for you was some really cool video. Now, I want you to pay attention to the dragonflies who are right in the face of this alligator, fearless in the face of this alligator. But I did see a really nice surprise along the lakes this week, and that was the white pelicans. In fact, on Thursday morning, I saw 80 of them. I hadn't seen them in weeks, and I was sad because I thought they had gone back up to the Great Lakes, like they always do, you know, in their migratory pattern after spending the winter down here. So to see 80, it was thrilling. Now, my real wish is I hope that they stay, because there are actually hundreds down on the Gulf Coast that never went home. They just decided to call it home. So will these call Baton Rouge home? Well, the experts say we're not sure yet. We'll just have to keep watching. And no, I will keep my eye out for them. Maybe we'll have some new people to call Baton Rouge home here. So this morning, I'm going to leave you with some views of the LSU and the City Park Lakes. The alligator, the pelicans. It is springtime in South Louisiana. Have a great Sunday. Hope to see you back here again next week.
Give the gift of fine dining. Wayne Stabler Companies is offering one card for 4. Le Creole, The Little Village, Stab's Steak and Seafood. 4 sizzling restaurants, one card.